Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Yogini Bhave from Ameri Team Realty. I'm a realtor serving the Central Florida area with my primary markets being Dr. Phillips, Windermere, Winter Garden, and secondary markets in the area of Stanford and Seminole County. Uh, I have been pounded with my current buyers, investors, friends, of course, neighbors, with a lot of questions taking the economy and coronavirus, and definitely with its impact on the real estate. I have my good friends here from Equity Prime Mortgage, Tony and Nick, and I would like Tony and Nick you to introduce yourself, and so we can address all the questions in this video. Tony, would you like to go first?
Certainly. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tony Colmenares. Thank you, Yogini, for having us on. I work with Equity Prime Mortgage. Been in the banking industry for longer than I care to say, and we're here to help out with anything we can. Thank you for having us on.
And hey guys, my name is Nick Michigrosso. I'm also with Equity Prime Mortgage. Been in the industry about 8 years, so seen all kinds of craziness, and obviously this is an interesting time we're going through now, but we're going to kind of talk through some questions and address just what's happening in the market. So
yep, absolutely. So let's Nick and Tony, both of you, thank you so much for taking your time off on a weekend. But this is really, really important for all our buyers, all our clients, even for all the realtors who are out there. This video might help. The whole purpose of this video is to get it out there on the social media so that hopefully we have addressed some of the vital questions that are out there today. The first question, I'm sure you've been pounded with this. Are we seeing the real estate market similar to what we had seen in 2007 and 8, or is this a little different kind of a situation?
Sure. Let me lead, and I'll let Tony give a little more context. But no, this is a totally different thing. So 2007, 2008 was more of an issue with houses being overvalued, loans being a lot easier to get and a little differently attained, where they joke around that anybody with a pulse could get a mortgage. This is something a lot different because the mortgage industry and the housing industry has been steadily growing at a nice, safe pace over the last several years. But we've just had to kind of pump the brakes on everything, right, because of this virus. So what we're really seeing, what I've heard from experts, we still have a lot of demand and not a lot of supply. And the opposite problem was true 10 years ago, where there were just so many houses and not enough people could afford them. So we're just really seeing a lot of pullback because of everybody having to just put the brakes on working. But, this economic situation is very different and something that should be a quicker recovery time than what we experienced back in 2008.
Okay, well, that's a positive, good news.
Absolutely, yes. I remember that time period very vividly. I was working in the bank at that point in time in the front lines. And yeah, I personally feel, and a lot of the experts are saying the same, that this is a very different situation. While a lot of us who were around that time period paying attention, it took several years, right? Almost 10 years to do the recovery. We learned a lot from that time period, right? As individuals, companies, and also our federal government as well. So what happened is that a lot of the moves that are happening right now is to counteract what's going on, right? So we want a recovery to happen much, much faster. Everybody wants to get back to normal. And we view this more as a pocket of something that may be happening, and everyone's expecting that sooner or later they're gonna tweak it and get it just right so that we see some relief, some continued relief, right? Because we've already seen it. It seems like every couple of days things get better and then they fall back a little bit, but it's a tug of war going on right now. Piggybacking on what partner Nick said, yes, supply demand is a big issue, right, in regards to cost. And right now, Orlando, as we know, is a great area. It's been growing. There's been a lot of great moves being made. And it's not only the locals purchasing property, but it's also folks from out of states who are retiring and coming in here and buying homes. I also finance a lot of second homes for folks. So that's not going to change, guys. So the supply demand is going to drive the market for the time being, and the rates are going to settle to what we expect them to.
Perfect. Some other questions is like, is this a good time to buy a property or even invest in a property? Some of my investors have been asking this question. Are the rates still going to go down? Is the market going to go to a rock bottom? So your question kind of partially answered that already. But would this still be a good time for them to purchase a property or even invest in a property for that matter?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we talked about a little bit with amongst the company over the course of the last couple of weeks is affordability is going to be a little bit better. Prices are going to have to go down a little bit to just account for, again, there's going to be less demand. However, I mean, prices are still going to be stable. There's going to be less buyers out there. So investors, I will say for those type of loans, some of those products are being a little bit harder to finance. However, you're seeing still a decent amount of opportunity, and you're also going to see a place where you're still going to have just as many opportunities to buy and sellers who are maybe a little bit more motivated. So whether you're buying as a single family home to live in or an investment property, I think you'll still be in good shape over the next few months.
That's good.
Absolutely, yes.
Tony, would you like to add anything to that question?
Yeah, I fully agree with that statement, right? And I think that we not only what Nick said, but in addition to those folks, right, that are going to continue to need their new homes, they're going to continue to move to Florida as they retire.
Yep.
Because I'm still getting phone calls. I'm still having people ask about the rates because they're interested in doing these purchases. But the one thing I would like to add to that is that we're also going to see a surge in people wanting to upgrade their homes. My personal opinion is that a lot of people are going to like working from home.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to do it going forward. So they're going to realize, right, that they need a dedicated space for that. If you don't want the kids running in the background or the dog barking to fall through, as many of us have experienced recently, right? So,
Absolutely.
a lot of those folks, I think, are going to say, well, since I'm going to be working from home more, I may need a place that has a dedicated area for me to go ahead and work from home. And thus, I think that we're going to see a lot of that happening as well.
That's a very valid point, Tony, and I would absolutely agree to that one.
Yeah.
Because even when I do a video call with my buyers or a virtual tool, I have to keep my kids to keep it down. And
Right.
it happened a couple of times when my younger one is screaming or something, or she just pops in suddenly in the video frame. So yeah, it does happen all the time. It's real.
Yeah.
My next question would be, I have buyers, or I'm sure there are multiple buyers out there in the market who have a pending contract right now. It could either be a resale property or a new construction home where we see they are far out in their closing, maybe 6 or 8 months from now, tentatively around a June, October, September timeframe. So what do you think would be an impact on those buyers taking their contracts as of now?
Why don't I let you want to take that, Tony? Because we talked about that. Is that cool?
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, wholeheartedly, we expect, like we've been saying, right, things to kind of improve, right? We're going to an unprecedented situation, right? And the moment that the fear starts to exit the market, we'll start to see things become more of the norm, and we'll see more consistency, which is what we're really looking for, right?
Right.
And I think that once there's some sort of a vaccine or something worked out, which I understand there's already things in the works, right? But once something comes out publicly, I think that a lot of these fears will go away. Things will start to settle down, and then we'll see that recovery back to normal. We'll see pricing become more regular and more consistent, and things should kind of fall back into place with what we had as far back as 30, 45 days ago.
Perfect. So the whole point would be for them to stay calm, to stay patient right now, because even with us, I've had some buyers who've been, waving the situation out and they are calm and poised. But I've had some of them who withdrew on the initial deposit payment that we do, or who are apprehensive whether they would want to go ahead with the contract. Either situations, I respect and the buyer's decision, because at the end of the day, they are the decision makers, and I highly respect either decisions. And we just want to make sure that we help our buyers take a well-informed and a well-educated decision, rather than being a part of the panic that we are seeing today. So that's precisely the whole point.
Mhm.
My next question would be, if we were to look at it a month or 2 months from now, what would be the mortgage situation or the interest rate? Do you see like a spike in the interest rate? Do you see a downward trend? Do you think it might just be around the same what we are here right now?
I've been seeing, so all year, really since a year ago, we've been on this nice little trajectory where rates have been going steadily down, which has been awesome for consumers looking to buy, people looking to refinance. So rates right now, while mortgage-backed securities are selling well, because the Fed is actually buying mortgage securities from all these investors, you're seeing right in this moment of time, because of some of this uncertainty, some investors just putting the pause on everything. So that's what I talked about earlier, with certain products not necessarily being available or certain things costing a little bit more. So right now, rates are actually a little bit higher than they were 2-3 weeks ago. However, once kind of what Tony alluded to, right? Once everything kind of evens out, this isn't going to last forever. It may take a couple of months. But once we see some stability there, more investors are going to be willing to basically put their hat back in the ring, so to speak. So every economist, everybody we listen to is saying mortgage rates are going to be even better in 30, 60 days. So what we've been doing, and Tony can touch on this too, is reaching out now. So when we're at a nice all-time low, like we were 3 weeks ago, people who want to refi are ready to go. And then people who are in a purchase contract, of course, depending upon their timeline, we can prepare to lock their rate in.
Perfect.
Absolutely. And one of the main things to keep in mind there is what your time frame is. I too have some clients that are under contract and are not locked. So what we're doing is we're checking rates twice a day. We're checking rates at 11 in the morning. Once all the pricing comes out, we're checking again towards the end of the day. We're going over cost. I'm speaking with the realtors as well, right? So that we're all on the same page in regards to what's going on. And I'm informing them, listen, we got these pockets. We're going to have to take advantage of them. So this is a key time. If your lender hasn't reaching out to you, make sure that you reach out to them. The more time you have, in my opinion, the better situation you're in, because you have a time frame where you allow all of this to kind of go through. And you still have certain provisions in your contract, right? In regards to the appraisal has to be made at some point and all of these things. So that would ease a lot of the people in the fears, right? That they're saying, oh, well, what if the price goes down a little bit? Well, that's what the appraisal is for, right? And worst case scenario, the builder or the seller, they can negotiate at that point in time. But the more time that you have, I think the better position that it puts you in, because you're definitely going to be on the tail side of this. And when things are calm, a lot of the fear has already exited the market, and we're going to start to see things get back to what we're used to.
Perfect. And coming up to my last question, people who are current homeowners, whether it's a primary residence, it's an investment property, they have 1, 2, 3 loans on the property. What is the best thing for them to do? Whether they just have a single primary residence or they have a primary home loan and a secondary investment property, either which ways, what's the best thing for them to do right now?
Well, Tony and I talked about a couple things. So the biggie is, I know there's a lot of legislation out there talking about being able to defer payments. That's still kind of in the works. So right now we've been advising everybody, hey, if you can still make your payment, please do that, because there's, it's just like anything else. There's not necessarily a free ride there. There's, sometimes you get hit with like late fees and that kind of not fun stuff. So if you're in a good spot, if you're able to make that happen, go ahead and make that happen. But then Tony and I are also speaking, because of where rates are going to be in the next 30 to 90 days, it might be a good idea to refi, to take cash out, do that kind of stuff. So I know, Tony, you've been doing that more than I have. So you want to touch on some of that?
Yes, thank you. So, and like I said, I lived through this back in the days, right? And anytime that there's fear in the market, what helps ease some of those fears is, the difference between how much comes in and how much goes out. A lot of what I've been telling my clients is the following. Listen, consider a refinance, right? Put it in my hands to see if I can save you on your monthly payment. But not only that, thinking outside of the box, if you have enough equity, right? If you can pay off that vehicle, and get rid of a $300, $400, $500, even up to $900 payments I've seen, right? But if you can get rid of that and maybe add an extra 100, 150 to your mortgage, that's a good trade-off in order for you to be in a situation where you feel more comfortable with what's left over at the end of every month, right? So
Absolutely.
understanding that cash is king helps me sleep better at nights, knowing that, hey, you know what, I'm not over leveraged. I'm in a situation where my income exceeds my liabilities, and you don't have a situation where you're perhaps as worried, right? So, this is what the equity in your home is for. You need to try to find a way that you can leverage it to either lower your mortgage payment or reduce other debt that would ultimately put you in a better financial position at the end of every month.
Yeah, that's a very good advice and a fantastic tip, Tony. I really appreciate. Well, I'm done with my train of questions. Would you both like to add anything, or I would like to just tell all the viewers, all those who would be watching this video eventually, to stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors. Please don't venture out unless it's absolutely necessary, like groceries or your medications. So stay indoors. Please listen to what everybody's been telling. Don't panic. Stay calm. It's not a panic situation. Stay calm and make thoughtful, mindful, and well-educated decisions. That's all I would like to say. Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you so much, Nick, once again. If you can reach out to Tony and Nick, I will be sending their details in the comments. Tony Colmenares and Nick Muchigrosso from Equity Prime Mortgage. And I'm Yogini Bhave. I'm from Ameri Team Realty. You could reach me, send an email at yogini.bhave, that's yogini.bhave@gmail.com. Please give us your feedback. Please share the video. I hope it helps most of the realtors, all other clients, and everyone who's out there. Stay safe, stay indoors. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.